Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on Library or BitChute, the name of my channels on those two websites is Comic Freak. We're going to be talking about Snake Eyes again, the new G.I. Joe movie that's going to be coming out. And because of that, there's a movement online to do what we did for Sonic the Hedgehog and see if we can't make this new G.I. Joe movie as close to the original concept as possible. So we're going to be looking at this article, every G.I. Joe character in the new Snake Eyes movie, and see what the creators plan to do with the original characters, and maybe we can do something about it. Paramount Pictures' Snake Eyes movie features numerous G.I. Joe characters, and some have already been confirmed. Snake Eyes is the third live-action film based on the popular line of Hasbro action figures, and the first installment in the series since 2013's G.I. Joe-Retaliation. Though not necessarily failures, G.I.JoeRiseOfCobra and G.I.JoeRetaliation weren't huge successes for Paramount. But despite this, Paramount and Hasbro are moving forward with the G.I. Joe franchise with a new slate of movies as part of a larger attempt to launch a shared universe of Hasbro movies with plenty of crossover potential. The first G.I. Joe movie on the schedule for Paramount is Snake Eyes, set for an October 23rd, 2020 release and directed by Robert Schwanka. Snake Eyes is a fresh start for the franchise that introduces new versions of G.I. Joe characters along with Sonic the Hedgehog and Top Gun Maverick. Snake Eyes is one of Paramount's biggest risks of 2020, and it remains to be seen if it will perform better at the box office than prior installments. It will be a terrible risk for Paramount, but then again, Snake Eyes isn't that well known beyond people who are fans of G.I. Joe. But even though he isn't, if they don't get his character down, you can look at what happened with Sonic the Hedgehog if they hadn't redesigned him. If they go into a movie with a character that's basically half-baked and then been mucked around with, like if they didn't redesign Sonic, this movie could very well fail for Paramount, and that would be very terrible. Well, terrible for them, anyway. As the title implies, the movie centers around one particular character rather than a group of G.I. Joe heroes. Though Snake Eyes focuses on the origin story of the fan-favorite Ninja Commando, other characters associated with the G.I. Joe will be joining in the action, and the cast could still grow as more details are more available in the months to come. Here's every character confirmed to appear in Snake Eyes. So we're going to get a brief synopsis of every character they now have and going to appear in the new G.I. Joe movie. We're going to be looking at this. These characters might be completely different from the characters anyone who is actually familiar with G.I. Joe, and its long history might be uncomfortable with seeing how these characters are possibly going to be ruined or just, well, made to be completely against the original characterizations they've known them for so long with. So, first up, we're going to be looking at Snake Eyes. We already know he's going to be, well, recast as an Asian man, and apparently he's also going to be able to talk, something that Snake Eyes can't do at all because his throat was basically destroyed. Snake Eyes is the original leader of the G.I. Joe team and a soldier with a background as an experienced ninja warrior. Typically dressed in all black and armed with a sword, Snake Eyes is present in nearly all G.I. Joe media, including comics, animated movies, toy lines, and of course, both movies. Snake Eyes is a character shrouded in mystery, as despite his many appearances to this day, his real name remains listed as classified. Snake Eyes' most recognizable look includes a full black bodysuit and mask. Oh, I did say his throat was ripped out. I mean his voice box was destroyed because it was ripped out, but he did survive that because of an injury he suffered. Perhaps his most well-known trait is vow of silence. Snake Eyes doesn't speak, which raises questions about how the movie will handle the aspect of the character. Snake Eyes' producer, Lorenzo Di Bonaventura, has teased that Snake Eyes will be able to speak for at least part of the movie, since it is an origin story. Previously, Snake Eyes was brought to life by Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace's Darth Maul actor Ray Park, but for the new movie, he'll be portrayed by crazy rich Asian star Henry Golding. Well, a vow of silence? As far as I know, the reason why Snake Eyes doesn't talk is his voice box was destroyed. But then again, they might have fixed that in the comic books and then gave him a vow of silence. But why do that when you have a guy whose voice was already destroyed? Why give him back the ability to speak then, huh? But they might have mucked with Snake Eyes' origin in the movie and given him the ability to speak instead of being injured. Either way, now we're going to be looking at his rival Storm Shadow. Having come from a family of assassins that goes back generations, Storm Shadow is a highly trained ninja with a deep and complicated history with Snake Eyes. Over the years, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow have been best friends, brothers in arms, and enemies. Clad in white, Storm Shadow is the visual opposite to Snake Eyes, and and a character with ties to both the G.I. Joe and Cobra teams after parting ways with the G.I. Joe squad and Snake Eyes over a misunderstanding. Storm Shadow switched sides and was recruited by Cobra, who made him the bodyguard to Cobra Commander. That being said, Storm Shadow was never necessarily evil, so there have been times where he's been fighting on the side of the heroes. In this way, the character can be a bit of a wild card. Lee Baring-Hun played Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra and G.I. Joe Retaliation, but Snake Eyes' take on the hero-turned-villain will be played by warrior actor Andrew Koji. Yeah, but one of the most interesting facts was the fact that Snake Eyes was originally supposed to be a white guy, and that plays into the relationship as well, because sometimes Storm Shadow was basically, well, critical of Snake Eyes because he considered him a bit of an outsider when they were training as ninjas. But apparently racism towards a white man is considered bad because only white people can be racist to other races and stuff. Because a white person being given racism by an Asian person is considered terribly un-PC, huh? How stupid, even though it was such an important part of his character. Now we're going to be talking about the Hardmaster, the man who trained Snake Eyes. The Hardmaster is an old ninja master known for training Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. He was the head of the Arasakage clan when his nephew Storm Shadow brought his family friend Snake Eyes back with him to be trained. Hardmaster trained both of them, and eventually it appeared that Snake Eyes and not Hardmaster's own nephew was the superior warrior, and for this reason he would succeed Hardmaster as the head of the clan. Before this could come to pass, Hardmaster was murdered by an assassin targeting Snake Eyes. When Storm Shadow was blamed, he left the clan and became enemies with Snake Eyes. It was Hardmaster's death that led to the fallout between the two warriors, who once saw themselves as brothers. Snake Eyes has reportedly cast martial arts superstar and the raid actor Iko Uwais as the Hardmaster. Now, this character has only been ever mentioned in passing in the comics and in the history of the G.I. Joe team. He's never actually appeared, as far as I know, as anything more than a legacy character. Now we're coming to Scarlett and how she's going to be, well, portrayed in the movie. Rachel Nichols played G.I. Joe heroine Scarlett in Rise of Cobra, but for Snake Eyes, the role will be taken over by Samara Weaving. Scarlett, aka Shauna O'Hara, is a beautiful crossbow-wielding martial artist and member of the G.I. Joe team, as well as the first female representation in the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero toy line. Generally paired with Snake Eyes on missions, the two have worked together for years, fighting Cobra and other threats in most continuities. Snake Eyes and Scarlett grow close due to their shared adventures and eventually become romantically involved. I've always been partial for Scarlett to be dating Duke instead of Snake Eyes, but that's only my own opinion. Here, they better get this character right, because Scarlett is one of my favorite characters from G.I. Joe in any incarnation of the franchise, so they better get her character right in this movie. Now, we're coming to the Baroness. One of the villains from Rise of Cobra will be back for Snake Eyes. Previously played by Shiana Miller, the Baroness will be portrayed by Ursula Corbero, having first appeared in Marvel Comics' G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero 1 in 1982. The Baroness is a high-ranking intelligence officer at Cobra and one of its leaders. Brought up as a European socialite, the Baroness got her start by participating in extremist groups and getting involved in political revolutions. After joining Cobra, she rose up the ranks and became an enemy of the G.I. Joe team. As a ruthless and devious killer in such a high position of power, that Baroness is one of the G.I. Joe team's biggest villains. But unlike the other confirmed characters in the movie, Baroness doesn't possess a strong personal connection to Snake Eyes or his past, so it's not clear where she'll fit into the story, but it's possible that she'll be acting as the main antagonist. Now, this sends up red flags. They're putting the Baroness as the starter villain for this incarnation of G.I. Joe, when in the comics it was Firefly, another Cobra operative who was the guy who assassinated the Hardmaster, at least if that's still canon or not. But you're starting off with the Baroness for the villain of your movie, I guess because she's more famous than any other known character besides Cobra Commander, huh? At least as far as villains go, and that makes me worried for this movie. So I hope the producers and creators of this movie listen to the fans and maybe, just like Sonic the Hedgehog, maybe this movie will actually turn out good, but from what I'm seeing, it doesn't look likely. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so please make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Then go over to Library and then BitChute and subscribe to my channels on those two websites. They're both named Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you also please share this video, share it on Twitter, share it on Reddit, and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it'll do the most good. Now, please keep checking back in all my future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.